This is Thanksgiving Day. What's the year? 1992?
They took my dad for pot. And he never did anything before. And they stole him from me. And my brother. He's missed so many things. He's missed my 8th grade graduation and plays or things that I was in, or high school graduation or dances or prom. He's missed all of that. My name is Cesal. My dad is in prison for life for pot. And I want to fight as hard as I can for him to come home, to feel like I actually have a family again.
We shy? You're supposed to wave to the camera, champ.
Go here. You look back and you just are like, wow, everything I went through and how scared I was, and I should have been up on a pedestal screaming my head off like my dad is gone. The first time you hear your dad cry, you know something's wrong. You know, it just breaks your core.
You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. This call is from
Frank Cesal,
an inmate at a federal prison. This call is being recorded and is subject to monitoring.
Craig Cesal is an inmate at the Federal Correction Institute in Terre Haute, Indiana. Cesal is 58 years old.
Hey, Dad.
Hi, champ. How's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Well, as well as can be expected. How's that?
And he's behind bars doing life without parole for pot.
The more that I learned about his case and the whole situation, the more it became clear to me that this was a guy that didn't deserve to be in prison, and just how incredibly unjust the whole situation was, and how badly the court system had failed him.
Cesal has been behind bars since 2002, when the divorced father was suddenly caught up in a marijuana case. Drug enforcement agents tell a story that stretches from Mexico across the highways of Texas to the suburbs of Chicago. The DEA claims the truck repairman was actually a marijuana smuggler.
Back here, he had rows of semi-trucks and other working trucks to fix up for people. And how I specifically remember it is because my dad would let us run in the trucks and pull on the horns until the air all ran out. And we, of course, liked that because it was really nice and loud.
But Cesal and his daughter Lauren tell a different story about a hard-working truck mechanic framed for a crime he never committed and serving a life sentence he doesn't deserve.
There's just no doubt in my mind that he wouldn't do anything to affect our lives. So my dad went to Texas to get the truck, and he was there with his girlfriend and to meet these guys, which I've met, and the police came and arrested all of them and hauled them all away. And it was just an instant thing.
He repaired trucks and he didn't ask questions.
Amy Pova is a former inmate and founder of Can Do, an organization that fights for clemency for nonviolent offenders. She's helping Lauren fight for Craig's freedom.
When the feds approached him and said, "We know that you're repairing these trucks," they wanted his help and participation to worm back to the organization. And Craig was, from my understanding, just like, "That's not my job, and I don't really want to get involved in that. That's your job." When you say no to him, a lot of the time it's sort of like, okay, you kind of draw a target on your back.
Cesal may have been a stand-up guy, but his co-defendants were not. They all took deals. Now he's the only man left behind bars. Cesal called during our interview with Lauren. She asked about the case.
Is everybody else that was involved during that, are they all home?
Yes. There was 10 of us altogether on my indictment, and there was 3 more on a separate indictment. And the first ones got out after about 3 years, and the last one after 10 years. And I was charged in 2002. It's really kind of sad that had I committed a violent crime, I would have been home long ago.
Phone calls from federal prisons are strictly monitored and are limited. 15 minutes a day is all they get.
But as you know, the phone's going to hang up in a few seconds.
Fuck. I love you. I've kept every single letter that he's ever sent me. And then I always save pictures and go back from when we were kids. It says November 9th, 2002. I spoke with you today and I've cried ever since. I thank you and I love you for the support you have given me. Please, I hope you know that I would have never done something like this that would not allow me to be the father I try to be. From your parent, from your dad, to kind of bare their soul in a moment is profound. So my dad took us to Disneyland and Disney World, and they were a couple years apart. I saved the plane tickets, and then I also saved, and it says Cesal family, and it says 3/27/2000. Yeah, and I kept them because it was such a good day. It was such a good time, and we didn't get to spend that much time with my dad or go on any trips, and it was just so special. And I loved holding this and being like, wow, I was on the plane with this, and it takes me back to that moment.
The Cesal family suffered its biggest loss in 2014 when Curtis, Lauren's younger brother, died after a battle with drug addiction. Lauren was forced to give her dad the news over the phone.
I started off strong for a second, and I said, there's something that I have to tell you. And I said, Curtis died. And he said, Chris, which is his sister, and the strain in his voice, and I said, no, Curtis. Sorry. And I could just hear him just break. He needed help. I needed help. We all needed help. And he just broke.
Lauren says her dad filed a special request to attend Curtis's funeral. It was denied.
And so everybody had left the wake, and my brother's lying there, and my dad calls, and I said, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone so that you can say your goodbyes. And I did, and I sat there, and I just stared at my brother, and I just, like, my dad in jail on the phone, my brother's here dead. Like, this, why is this happening?
Lauren has found comfort and support from her fiancé, Brian. When they met, he joined her fight for Craig's release.
They make it incredibly hard to undo what has been done. No matter how many other attorneys or government officials might say this is completely wrong, they still make it next to impossible to undo what they've done to these people. And that's very, very defeating, and it makes you feel very helpless.
So far, 30 states and the District of Columbia have moved to legalize medical marijuana. But for Cesal, charged under federal law, pot remains a crime. Punishment is life without parole. His only hope is clemency from the president. That's what Lauren and Brian are focusing on these days. The couple plans to marry, and they want to be sure Craig is there, not on furlough, but as a free man.
I have this terrible fear of getting married and walking down the aisle alone. It's very silly. I'm a very unconventional person. So to have that childhood dream of your father walking you down has always frightened me because I could not have it. And I want him to be in this moment, that he's a part of that. And I think that that would be so powerful, and I just can't let it go. I don't know why. And I just